Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Dava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Shri Radhe Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Okay, chanting together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, welcome to today's Bhagavad Gita lecture. The verse is from the 14th chapter, Modes of Material Nature, and the verse is 27. It's the last of the chapter. And I chant and then you repeat. Brahmanyo hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. So each line. Brahmanyo hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. Prabhus, you want to chant? Brahmano hi pratishtaham yasya cha shvastasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. Okay. Brahmano hi pratistham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. Ladies? Matajis? Someone? Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. Okay, word for word. A Brahmanaha of the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. He certainly. Pratishtha, the rest. Aham, I am. Amritasya, of the imperishable. Avyayasya, immortal. Cha, also. Shashvatasya, of eternal. Cha, and. Dharmasya, of the constitutional position. Sukhasya, happiness. Aikantikasya, ultimate. Cha, also. Translation and purport of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. Purport. The constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity, and happiness. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Param Atma, the super soul, is the middle, the second stage in transcendental realization, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of the Absolute Truth. Therefore, both Param Atma and the impersonal Brahman are within the Supreme Person. it is explained in the 7th chapter that material nature is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord impregnates the inferior material nature with the fragments of the superior nature, and that is the spiritual touch in the material nature. When a living entity conditioned by this material nature begins the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, he elevates himself from the position of material existence and gradually rises up to the Brahman conception of the Supreme. This attainment of the Brahman conception of life is the first stage in self-realization. At this stage, the Brahman realized person is transcendental to the material position, but he is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. If he wants, he can continue to stay in the Brahman position and then gradually rise up to Paramatma realization, and then to the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many examples of this in Vedic literature. The 4 Kumaras were situated first in the impersonal Brahman conception of the truth, but then they gradually rose to the platform of devotional service. One who cannot elevate himself beyond the impersonal conception of Brahman runs the risk of falling down. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that although a person may rise to the stage of impersonal Brahman without going farther, with no information of the Supreme Person, his intelligence is not perfectly clear. Therefore, in spite of being raised to the Brahman platform, there is the chance of falling down if one is not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Vedic language, it is also said, Raso vai saha rasam hi evayam labdvanandi bhavati. When one understands the personality of Godhead, the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendentally blissful. The Supreme Lord is full in 6 opulences, and when a devotee approaches him, there is an exchange of these 6 opulences. The servant of the king enjoys on an almost equal level with the king. And so eternal happiness, imperishable happiness, eternal life accompany devotional service. Therefore, realization of Brahman or eternity or imperishability is included in devotional service. This is already possessed by a person who is engaged in devotional service. The living entity, although Brahman by nature, has the desire to lord it over the material world, and due to this, he falls down. In his constitutional position, a living entity is above the 3 modes of material nature, but association with material nature entangles him in the different modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Due to the association of these 3 modes, his desire to dominate the material world is there. By engagement in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, he is immediately situated in the transcendental position, and his unlawful desire to control material nature is removed. Therefore, the process of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, remembering, the prescribed 9 methods for realizing devotional service, should be practiced in the association of devotees. Gradually, by such association, by the influence of the spiritual master, one's material desire to dominate is removed, and one becomes firmly situated in the Lord's transcendental, loving service. This method is prescribed from the 22nd to the last verse of this chapter. Devotional service to the Lord is very simple. One should always engage in the service of the Lord, should eat the remnants of foodstuff offered to the deity, smell the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, See the places where the Lord had his transcendental pastimes. Read of the different activities of the Lord, his reciprocation of love with his devotees. Chant always the transcendental vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And observe the fasting days commemorating the appearances and disappearances of the Lord and his devotees. By following such a process, one becomes completely detached from all material activities. One who can thus situate himself in the Brahma Jyoti is equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality. Jai. So it's very, very full of nectar, this purport. And I'm just chanting the prayers. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanshana Gorangi Vradhe Vrindavaneshvari Vreshabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again the verse. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. Yes. So this is the end of the 14th chapter, which is called Modes of Material Nature. And in this chapter it is explained that the three modes, as many of you may already know, is Tamagun or ignorance, Rajagun, passion, and Sattvagun, the mode of goodness. And these modes are prominent in this material world. They are everywhere and mixed also. And but they are one separated energy of the Lord, and there's one direct energy of the Lord. It's called the Brahman energy, spiritual potency, or transcendental energy, which the jiva also belongs to, but it is not fully independent like the Lord. It is bound by the modes of material nature in this world. When the Lord gives nature to the living entity in this material world, through the contact with material association, one also becomes contaminated with different modes, with wishes, with shortcomings, with so many things, and thus gets in forgetfulness of his real position. And this real position is loving service of the Lord. It is said that we only come to this material world because we have the tendency, the wish, the desire to enjoy separately of the Lord, to become the Lord ourselves. And this material nature gives us the ability, the playground to check it out, to give it a try. But because of the laws of nature and karmic reactions, which is also a nature of law, we get bound and we suffer from the activities we perform. Suffering is due to the not so godly qualities of material nature, which are bound to time, which have a beginning and an end, and which perish, which are not immortal or eternal as the soul is, and therefore always cause old age, disease, sufferings, and many other things like disappointed expectations and whatsoever. And the living entity tries to be happy because it has to do something, it has to serve, and it has to enjoy. Yeah, it's like the nature of the living entity as well as the Lord, one can say, but in a different quantity. And these senses are so strong that whether we want it or not, we have to do something, and we have to experience also something. And this experiencing, as probably every one of you knows, can sometimes really, like, not an easy experience. Can be hard, can be challenging, suffering, and so the question is how to solve the problem. And Krishna and the revealed Vedic scriptures, the Vedic injunctions, always lead to the point that there are only two possibilities. We have only two possibilities. Like, rather we want to stay in that conditioned state where we feel and be in the illusion that we ourselves are the controller and the center of the universe, and that everything is there for our enjoyment. But then we keep entangled in this material world, and we will automatically suffer. Or we try to develop real knowledge, transcendental knowledge, and many say this is the beginning of spiritual life, material frustration. And the most prominent reason why people take up to spirituality, which is understandable because everyone wants to be happy. And therefore, we try to gather real knowledge. We try to find the reason how can we be happy. And here's Krishna describing, as well as in the whole Bhagavatam, that the solution for this problem is engaging all the senses, the mind, all the working senses. There are there's a list. It's Sankhya Yoga, where it's revealed what elements lead to an action. And there are some 5 greater or more solid elements. Maybe someone knows them and can say it. No, I mean the more like wood is consisting of earth. Yeah. Then there's water, there's fire, air, ether. Then the subtle elements. So our body is consisting of these gross elements. Then the subtle elements: mind, intelligence, false ego. And the 3 modes of material nature are here mentioned: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the 5 working senses: voice, legs, hands, anus, and genitals. The 5 knowledge gathering senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch. And the 5 objects of the senses: form, sound, scent, taste, and touch. So whether we want it or not, whether we believe in it or not, this is a very strong and solid description of this world. And if we really analyze how everything is working, including ourselves, we find that everything is concluded there. And there are many examples in the revealed scriptures how one can perfectly engage those elements we are at the moment in contact with. So the spiritual soul is in this car full of elements and senses and mind and subtle and gross things, and how one can use this whole system of our whole being, one can say, properly. In a way that is not hurting someone, not abusing, not making difficulties. No, it's described that brings eternal happiness and joy and freedom and also riches. Yeah, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, or Prabhupada says in the purport, that the servant of the Lord even enjoys on nearly the same level as the Lord himself. So as we are here sitting together in the house of Lord Nrsimhadev, yeah, we also are sitting in a very nice house, and yeah, we offer to him very nice palatable foodstuffs, and yeah, the remnants are also very nice for us to enjoy. Yeah, and we want to be happy and joyful for him, sing for him, and this also makes us very happy and joyful. And there's one really interesting example to this point. Many of you probably know Maharaj Ambarish. Yeah, okay, many heads are going up and down, and it's a very interesting story, as of so many saintly kings of the Srimad Bhagavatam, like Prithu Maharaj or Maharaj Ambarisha. They were known for being really great devotees, because they had the science to use everything in the service of the Lord. Everything they had great power, they had great armies, great riches, great intelligence, but because they were not abusing it for their own sense gratification, rather for the satisfaction of the Lord, which automatically brings peace and happiness to all living entities, they were so worshipped. And his story is partially given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And one point I want to read is related to the story where he was offending Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni is also an interesting story that comes up because the Bhagavatam teaches us also in many different stories how this enemies of our being in this material world, like anger, lust, envy, are so prominent not only in us but also in the saintly personalities, and how they deal with it and what is the reaction, and we can learn so much about it. So this Durvasa Muni was very envious of Ambarish Maharaj because he was so well known and everybody loved him. And therefore he said, oh, well, I'm going to visit him, and I will find a reason to find a fault in him. And he was making a fast during that period of time. And it is cultural that when you have a guest, that you firstly give him something to eat before you serve yourself. But the Muni disappeared the whole day, and it was fasting Ekadashi, and at some point he had to break the fast. So Durvasa Muni knew, someday he has to eat something, this rascal, and then I will offend him. And he waited until that moment. So Maharaj Ambaraj, because he was very saintly, he followed it strictly, and he drank a little bit of water to break the fast, which is recommended in the scriptures. And then Durvasa Muni appeared and said, oh, well, how dare you are, how could you, and used this opportunity to curse him, and he was really angry, and but he wanted even to kill him, I think. Is it like that? Yeah. Okay, so and then Lord Vishnu was protecting him. As we know, all great devotees of the Lord who sacrifice the whole life, the whole being, have a very special protection from the Lord. Is there some other lila where you know where this devotee experiencing great protection from the Lord? Yes, the Singadev lila. Anything more that comes to your mind? Rajendra? Gajendra, yeah. It's also nice, yeah. Another one? Draupadi, yeah. So this intimate relationship between the devotee and the Lord, through the service, created through the service, yeah, this this giving and taking, this exchange of loving actions, has his its outcome that if the devotee comes into difficulties, the Lord protects him. So the Lord appeared and he sent his Sudarshana chakras to Durvasha Muni, and the chakra was after him all the time, and he was fleeing all over the universe. Like first the material universe, he went to Brahma Loka and Shiva Loka, but it was still there. And then where only place? Okay, I go into the spiritual world, Vaikunthas, and then he met Narayan, the Lord Narayan. And he begged him, please, could you please stop that Sudarshana chakra? It will kill me, please help me. I'm such a great Muni, you have to help me. But then he said, no, because you offended my devotee, I cannot rescue you. That's the greatest sin, offending my devotee. But there is a chance if you beg forgiveness for him. If you fall down to his lotus feet and you beg for forgiveness. Yeah, and it's also very nice. So many things we can think about, how to react in daily life, how to be with devotees, loving, caring, not cursing or wanting to harm anyone, or if we did, that we excuse. But the point that I wanted to come to was that after that incidents, the Bhagavatam glorifies Maharishi Ambaraj and is giving some information about how he was acting in this world. And this I want to read for you. It's in the 9th canto, the 4th chapter, text 20. Translation. Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the glories of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, and his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulasi offered to the Lord. And he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasad. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord. 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambarish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service, in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. So, Maharaj Ambarish ki! Jai. Yeah, so this process has also a special name and has had some small revolution during the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. It's called Yukta Vairagya. Probably all of you heard of it, or many. and this is a very important term in our Vaishnava philosophy. That just means that we try to sacrifice or to regulate everything what we do with a certain kind of Entsagung auf English? Renunciation, sacrifice, yeah. That we try to connect everything what we do rather than with old stuff, memories, so many things. We connect it to the Lord. And because the Lord is so pure, the purest of all, who could be purer, this process also lifts us up, brings us on a more pure platform. So no matter where we start, it's always good to start. And no matter what we do, it's always very good, because it will always elevate us. Krishna consciousness is so potent that even with a little thing what we are doing, this is so much acknowledged from the Lord. And this will elevate us. It's also described in the 14th chapter that the whole process of Krishna consciousness is about that we elevate from the lower modes of material nature, like ignorance and passion, which gives us trouble and suffering, to the sattvic platform, and from there to the transcendental platform. But without, as it was also said in the purport, without practical doing something, it won't have such a great effect. We can easily fall down. Yeah, so we have these 9 processes. Everyone knows, like hearing. Everything starts with hearing. Yeah, it's very easy. We don't have to do anything. We can just sit in a class and just listen, and it's so purifying. Yeah. And Krishna also always puts us in these situations that we always hear the exact right thing at the right moment. When we have a thematic or something, he sends us the right person, and he brings us in challenging situations when we need it to digest a certain thematic in our life, to deal with death, or attachments, or lust, or so many things. And this whole process gets fastened. Yeah, it's said in the Bhagavad Gita, "Yayata mam prapatyante tams tata iva bhajamiyaham mama manu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha." As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Thank you. And everyone follows my path in all aspects. So it's just a matter of time. We are all on this way, on this evolution track. But this devotional service, these 9 processes, like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, to execute orders, to be a friend with the Lord, and complete surrendering is like the manual, is like the fast track, like the magic book, the magic gemstone. Yeah, it will bring us so much in a very short time. If you can see, it is said that only with one process you can reach perfection. Like there's like only with hearing. It's the story of the Bhagavatam. The king also just sat and heard, and from this he reached perfection. Yeah, but if you engage in all of them, which is very easily made if you participate in deity worship, if you have a deity, a form of the Lord at home, if you come and visit the temple, if you have devotee association. This is also mentioned that this is also this developing transcendental knowledge is very important, but the most important is to accept a spiritual master, because everything is relationship and everything is learning from others. and this knowledge can also can only be passed on through the medium of a guru. So it's very important that you think about if you feel the need for a change or for spiritual deepness or for faster results in your life, if you are sick of suffering and you gained already some transcendental knowledge of the path of Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness, that you accept a spiritual master, that you come to the temple, that you talk to authorities, that you take shelter, because at the end it's about taking shelter, that you are protected. Yeah? Like in the stories, if you become a great devotee, then you are protected. And everyone in this world lives in fear. Yeah? Tomorrow, oh no, hopefully my car makes it to the Simhachalam temple. It's almost broke. Oh no, hopefully it makes it. My child, hopefully it will be healthy in his life. So many obstacles and fears of surviving and so on. But when you practice Krishna consciousness and you become more and more elevated and you develop an affection for the Lord and you develop friendship, you will feel more and more secure. And the doubts will disappear and you will feel protected, as you can experience here in the home of Shishi Prahlad Lakshmi Nrsimhadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Yeah, and I think this was a nice end. And if you want to add something or you have a question, you're very welcome now to say something. Has somebody anything? Maybe the new guest, do you have a question or something? Because I was telling you some hours ago about the Leela also of Lord Nrsimhadev. Is this everything clear also with the protection and everything? Okay. Okay, yeah, I understand. Welcome. Someone else?
You talked about the three modes of material nature, of which the material world is made of. Once I heard the example, the comparison of the material modes being like the, basic colors, yellow, red, and blue, by which a painting consists of. Do you consider this right? Do you consider this right, proper? Could you say something about that?
Yeah, I also heard it. I don't know where it is written or something, but yeah, it's like the basic colors are also like yellow, blue, and red. Yeah, and it's like the example, the metaphor, like these modes are also like different colors. And as we can see here in the world, not everything is blue, yellow, and red. Yeah, we have like this orangic stuff. Yeah, it's a mixture of yellow and red, and so on. So we will never find pure modes of nature. We always have to. We see in different constellations, different mixings. And 81 only. Okay. Okay, cool. Where is it? You don't know. Like Kapila. Probably. Okay, wow. Yeah. And yeah. Was this okay, Akila Prabhu, or can you add something? Okay. Okay. Yeah, Björn Prabhu.
Yeah, maybe I can pose the question in German and then you can repeat.
Mhm.
Weil du über das sich hingeben gesprochen hast, hast du da einen Tipp, wie man sich denn oder Zuflucht suchen kann? Zuflucht suchen kann, wenn man denn das Gefühl hat, Schutz zu benötigen.
So he asked the questions that I was talking about surrendering, and that if I have an advice how it is, how one can surrender or take shelter. No, what was it? Yeah, take shelter. How is it possible to take shelter? Yeah, so I mean the process, as far as I can see, is that you realize that there is something missing, or you want to achieve, or you want to connect. You realize there's a need in your life for a change. Before maybe I can manage everything on my own. I'm strong enough. I'm old enough. I don't need someone else or whatsoever. So many reasons. But when you suffer a lot, you become humbled, and it is said that if you approach a spiritual master, humbleness is needed. Humbleness and asking questions with a proper attitude, like not challenging, rather than really inquisitive, and rendering service. So these aspects must be there, or are given in the scriptures, that if you have these three, then there is this exchange of transcendental knowledge and elevation is given. So you have to be humble and understand or admit that you don't know something, and the humbleness must be there to approach in the right attitude, not challenging, and with the openness to render service. And these three things are also the gate opener for surrendering, because then you give up your false ego. Your false ego is, I'm puffed up, I know everything, who wants to say me something? And with that attitude you can't surrender. So if you are already searching for shelter and you want surrender, naturally you are already humbled, and you also seek in the proper attitude, because you ask the question. And then the last thing I would say is to connect in a practical way, that you go to a place where you feel secure, where you feel there are personalities, where I can feel I can surrender to, which was for me a big point before I came here, that I saw here people where I saw, wow, I see in them that the process works. Yeah, it's not an ordinary man. It's someone who lives what he is talking about, and therefore I can have faith. Yeah, and because of that faith and that openness, I can surrender. Yeah, but how much? Maybe at the beginning very small, but you have to make the step, and then you feel through the relationship, you gather trust and loving exchange, and then you can more open up, and then you can also surrender more, because that is also a big part. I can tell you from my time that for sure at the beginning I didn't want to surrender everything in my life, because I was doubting that surrendering it would be good, because I don't know the people so good. I don't know. Okay, this Krishna con. Okay, the Vedas, they say it's important, but so many people say think they say so many important things. Maybe it's wrong. I have to observe it for a while, So we have to build up some kind of trust and some kind of experiences where we see the process is working, and this is only there when you are practical, when you do something. because otherwise it's just imaginary, illusionary, only conceptions in the mind. But when you honestly go to someone and you want to change your life and you do something practical that someone is advising to you, or you read in the scriptures and you try to follow, and then you make the experience, the faith will also rise. And then you make the experience, hey, Krishna is my best friend. There's no one who knows how to satisfy me better, who knows how to give me shelter better, where I can more be myself better. And the more that will grow, also through the processes mentioned, the more naturally you surrender, because you say, wow, I don't want to hold it back. I want to give more, because I see the more I give, the more it makes fun, the more I also receive love, the more I also feel sheltered and feel the connection with the Lord. Yeah. Ist gut? Gerne. Mataji? Welcome. Just 1 second for the microphone.
Vielen Dank für deinen schönen Vortrag. Sehr inspirierend und sehr schön, also anschaulich dargestellt. Noch kurz was zu diesem Surrender, das kam mir so, was ganz wichtig ist bei diesem Punkt, denke ich, ist diese im Herzen zu sein. Und eigentlich ist es ein ganz leichter Prozess, wenn man den Kopf ein bisschen ausschaltet. Oh, es ist so wie den Fernseher ausmachen, ne? So ein bisschen, oder den Computer. Und dann einfach wirklich in das Herz gehen und das Herz einfach fühlen auch. Nicht denken immer, sondern fühlen. Und dann ist man irgendwie in Kontakt mit einer anderen Energie, und das ist ja Paramatma. Und wenn man sich mit ihm verbindet, dann führt er einen auch. Und man muss eigentlich gar nichts machen, so wie ein Kind, ne? Und sich einfach hingeben, also wirklich hingeben. Das ist auch so ein bisschen wie, ich kann eigentlich gar nichts machen. Ich bin eigentlich unfähig, ich kann gar nichts eigentlich, so wie ein kleines Kind, ne? Und er beschützt mich und er führt mich. Aber immer diese Connection, dieses Fühlen ist, glaube ich, ganz arg wichtig, weil man kann das nicht so mit dem Kopf, ne? Dieses Hingeben, das funktioniert irgendwie nicht so. Ja. Danke.
Vielen Dank. Yeah, for all English speakers, Mataji said that it's very important to feel in the heart. That I say, not she, but knowledge is important. Like this knowledge gives us trust and explains things, and we can relate better in practical ways for daily life. But what she said is that it's really important to feel in the heart. And when you feel and have the connection to the Paramatma, you feel more and more guided and more sheltered, and it becomes like you feel like a child, that the Lord gives you direction from within, and this is only possible when you also are in connection with your heart, because the Lord is situated there. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, then thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Have a wonderful evening. There is milk and puris downstairs.